designate a symbolic death to mark the occasion. By the end of this century, we could be back to where we are right now and steadily growing fewer. Populations are already declining in about 24 states around the world. By 2050, the number will have climbed to 36. Some of the richest places on Earth are shedding people every year: Japan, Korea, Spain, Italy, much of Eastern Europe. We are a dying country, Italy's health minister Beatrice Lorenzin lamented in 2015. But this isn't the big news. The big news is that the largest developing nations are also about to grow smaller, as their own fertility rates come down. China will begin losing people in a few years. By the middle of this century, Brazil and Indonesia will follow suit. Even India, soon to become the most populous nation on Earth, will see its numbers stabilize in about a generation and then start to decline. Fertility rates remain sky-high in sub-Saharan Africa and parts of the Middle East. Even here, though, things are changing as young women obtain access to education and birth control. Africa is likely to end its unchecked baby boom much sooner than the UN's demographers think. Some of the indications of an accelerating decline in fertility can be found in scholarly research and government reports. Others can only be found by talking to people on the street. And so we did. To gather research for this book, we traveled to cities on 6 continents, to Brussels and Seoul, Nairobi and Sao Paulo, Mumbai and Beijing, Palm Springs and Canberra, and Vienna. There were other stops as well. We talked to academics and public officials, but more important, we talked to young people on university campuses and at research institutes and in favelas and slums. We wanted to know what they were thinking about the most important decision they will ever make: whether and when to have a baby. Population decline isn't a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a big thing. A child born today will reach middle age in a world in which conditions and expectations are very different from our own. She will find the planet more urban, with less crime, environmentally healthier, but with many more old people. She won't have trouble finding a job, but she may struggle to make ends meet, as taxes to pay for health care and pensions for all those seniors eat into her salary. There won't be as many schools because there won't be as many children. But we won't have to wait 30 or 40 years to feel the impact of population decline. We're feeling it today, in developed nations from Japan to Bulgaria that struggle to grow their economies even as the cohort of young workers and consumers diminishes, making it harder to provide social services or sell refrigerators. We see it in urbanizing Latin America and even Africa, where women are increasingly taking charge of their own destinies. We see it in every household where the children take longer to move out because they're in no rush to settle down and haven't the slightest intention of having a baby before they're 30. And we're seeing it, tragically, in roiling Mediterranean seas, where refugees from wretched places press against the borders of a Europe that is already starting to empty out. We may see it very soon influencing the global contest for power. Population decline will shape the nature of war and peace in the decades ahead, as some nations grapple with the fallout of their shrinking, aging societies, while others remain able to sustain themselves. The defining geopolitical challenge in the coming decades could involve accommodating and containing an angry, frightened China as it confronts the consequences of its disastrous one-child policy. Some of those who fear the fallout of a diminishing population advocate government policies to increase the number of children couples have. But the evidence suggests this is futile. The low fertility trap ensures that once having 1 of 2 children becomes the norm, it stays the norm. Couples no longer see having children as a duty they must perform to satisfy their obligation to their families or their God. Rather, they choose to raise a child as an act of personal fulfillment, and they are quickly fulfilled. One solution to the challenge of a declining population is to import replacements. That's why 2 Canadians wrote this book. For decades now, Canada has brought in more people on a per capita basis than any other major developed nation, with little of the ethnic